Hey everyone, it's Victor with Design Your Own Destiny. First off, I wanted to thank you guys for watching these videos, and I hope you're getting a lot out of them. I really enjoy making them and putting this content out there to help people. And so if you are, then subscribe to the page. I'm going to be putting out new videos just about every day. If you know someone that could use these videos or would get value out of them, also then share them and like the video so that more people can see them. I really want to spread this message as far as I possibly can. So again, thank you guys for watching. This next series is about joy, and we all know that joy is about happiness, and it's a feeling of happiness and pleasure. Tim Cook said, let your joy be in your journey and not in some distant goal, which reminds us to be in the moment and appreciate every moment that passes. And Carlos Santana said basically about that, if you carry joy in your heart, you can heal any moment. So both things are about moments. And there's also great power in joy. And what is that power? Watch and find out. Thank you guys so much, and be blessed.
Here we go, the healing power of joy. So let me start with the definition of joy. It is the emotion evoked by well-being or by the prospect of possessing what one desires. Delight is the expression or exhibition of such an emotion. So joy and delight. Let me give you a definition of happiness from Michael Neal's Feel Happy Now. Happiness is the process of creating and experiencing good feelings in your body and mind, moment by moment by moment. And that's our plan here tonight. And then I'm going to give you a 10-step prescription for how you do it in your life every day, every day, every day, every day, so that you too can be happy, healthy, dead. Okay? All right. Now, when I was a medical student and first saw a birth, I was so moved that, first of all, I was really glad I was wearing a surgical mask. Heaven knows a birth is a big-time surgical procedure, now more than ever. And I was wearing a mask, and my mentors couldn't see me crying. I nearly fell to the floor with the joy of that experience. And a nurse in the room at the time was yelling at the medical student because he cut the cord and didn't clamp it properly. And the cord is like a little mini fire hose. So it's, the blood's going all over the walls. And I remember thinking, this is a holy moment. And there is no place in this room for anything but awe. It felt as though the room was full of angels, and I've never been so moved by anything in my life, and that's why I went into the field of women's health. Since that time, I've learned everything that can go wrong with the female body. I am board certified in everything that can go wrong with the female body. Those 3 books out there that you can use to build bone density from weight training are footnoted thoroughly in the science of everything that can go wrong with the female body. My work now is an antidote to the belief that almost all women and almost all men have that something is inherently wrong with their bodies and with their health. And that's what tonight is going to be. I want to make a case for joy for you that is so ironclad that you'll believe me when you walk out of this room. And you'll remember this the next time you start getting in that kitty litter. Oh, you know the place, right? Yeah, oh yeah, the gerbil wheel in the mind. What I do when I get in, I just call Diane. Diane and I have been together for about 30 years. She was my first nurse. She runs the entire operation. And when I was in labor with Kate over there, Diane went into the office and canceled all the patients because she had had a dream that night that she gave birth to a baby. And she knew I had gone into labor. So that's the kind of relationship we have. I would wish that for every one of you. But that's who I call when things get a little rough, because we all need to pick up the phone because we all go down that chute. Here's what I know about life on Earth. It is sexually transmitted. And it's meant to be joyous, because the process of creating life is joyful, right? At least it was for your father. Now, the way that we have been, and I'm out to change all that for the mothers, obviously, in a big way. That's why my next book, actually, this isn't about, yes, it is. It's about the ones who are not having babies anymore. But the next book is called The Secret Pleasures of Menopause. Fun, huh? You want it for the women in your life, okay? You do. Okay. Anyway, my first point in my case for joy is that we are meant to not only conceive blissfully and orgasmically, we're meant to birth blissfully and orgasmically. On YouTube right now, you can watch some orgasmic births. It's fascinating to me that what's rising right now on the planet is this energy of joy and delight and bliss. And so, as the cesarean birth rate approaches 100% in many hospitals in the world, in Iran, in Brazil, in some of the hospitals in the United States, we have this very vigorous other movement of orgasmic birth happening. At the time that an egg is fertilized, there is a burst of nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is the molecule of chi, or prana, life force. Every time you feel joy or bliss, nitric oxide is elaborated from the endothelium, the lining of your blood vessels. Endothelium is an active organ. It is, in fact, the largest organ in your body because there's so much of it. And so, think of it. Joy and delight, nitric oxide, puff, 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 and it results in vasodilatation, an increase of blood flow. And Louise Hay says, the flow of blood equals the flow of joy and delight. Interestingly, it is the research on nitric oxide that led to the creation of the drugs Viagra and Cialis. I would like you to become virtual Viagra without taking any drug. I'd like you to be able to increase your nitric oxide with your thoughts and with the program that I'm going to give you, so that you don't have to worry about an erection that lasts 5 hours. Okay. Anyway, my point is joy and ecstasy are the path to healing, the no pain, no gain philosophy which we've been brought up with. Starting with our birth, you are meant to suffer because Eve ate the apple. That is an obsolete way of thinking. And all of you, the births that you have all seen are the ones on ER or the ones in the movies that are hopelessly flawed. That's not how it needs to be. And I know that from being around birth for many, many years. Barbara Marx Hubbard is a futurist, and she is now teaching that for the first time in written human history, we're not going to go forth and multiply. We can't go forth and multiply. The earth doesn't have enough room anymore. So our primary drives to survival and procreation have had to change into co-creation. She calls the joy of co-creation supra-sex. So we're moving from the joy of procreation to the joy of co-creation, and that's supra-sex, where you get together and you exchange ideas, cross-pollination, cross-fertilization. It's interesting to me that at ovulation, and then from menopause on, women are maximally open to cross-pollination and cross-fertilization. Don't you notice how turned on you get by ideas and good movies and all of that? Okay, so tonight we're all going to be engaging in supra sex, and it's safe. It's always safe. Okay, the world is going to be changed by joy and pleasure, not pain, not fear, not that kind of thing. My second point is that the power of intention can invoke joy right now. When we have people in experiments with an intent to heal, let's say that we have a man with his wife who has breast cancer. When he has an intent to heal and be healing around her, or a group of people, you will actually notice that their breath rates synchronize, their heart rates synchronize, and then the healing power of one begins to affect the healing power of another. That's the power of intention. And that's very, very exciting to me, because it means whoever is vibrating at the highest level actually raises up everyone else in the room, and I believe everyone else on the planet. So the only way to heal anything is for you to raise your vibration, not for you to get into the addiction to struggle that most of us have been brought up with, the no pain, no gain model. Joy will always bring out the best in you. I'm going to give you the benefits of joy. It makes you younger. It increases DHEA, the youth hormone. That is the mother hormone for all the other hormones. It enhances your immunity. It changes your metabolism. Haven't you noticed, if you've ever traveled somewhere and you're really, really happy, you can eat differently and lose weight? People often say they go to Italy and they're having a wonderful time because the food's so amazing and they actually lose weight. Have any of you had that experience? Right. Okay, the food here is really fantastic. I haven't figured out a way to, lose weight with it yet, but maybe, more Italian something. I don't know what. Joy creates success. Success doesn't create joy, by the way. Joy creates success. Joy enhances creativity and intuition. Joy makes you irresistible, quite frankly. Remember, it's that virtual Viagra thing. Okay, point 4, joy is a challenge because we don't trust it. Okay, so if I go up to you and I say, how are you? Fine. You're fine, okay. How many people say, not bad, I've been better, I'm still standing, I'm adequate? We're terrified of saying, I am fabulous, because everyone will think you're retarded. Right? They really do. I have a friend, Dr. Ed Taub, and he told me a joke. He says, Jewish telegram, start worrying. Details to follow. Okay. Dr. Robert Holden, author of Happiness Now, says we use the language of pain to describe joy. I had a hell of a time. She's drop-dead gorgeous. I died laughing. Let's get wasted. This is to die for. It's wicked good. That's what we say in Maine. It's wicked good. All right. It was damn good. Or have you ever been told you're having too much fun? You're having too much fun. Okay? Sinfully good. I'm dying to see you. You see how that works in our minds? I want to go over with you something that Woody Allen's character said in the movie Love and Death. To love is to suffer. To avoid suffering, one must not love, but then one suffers from not loving. Therefore, to love is to suffer, not to love is to suffer is to suffer. To be happy is to love. To be happy, then, is to suffer. But suffering makes one unhappy. Therefore, to be unhappy, one must love or love to suffer, or suffer from too much happiness. I mean, does this make sense to you? We really, truly don't trust joy. Ego. Ego means everything good is outside. E-G-O. Everything good is outside. Ego. It's a lie. But the ego is always on the make. Always on the make. The ego always wants to be right, but it will never make you happy, ever. And I want you each to look at your addiction to struggle. Mine is amazing. It's amazing. If you ask me to do something pleasurable for 5 days in a row at a certain time, I will come up with a million reasons why I really shouldn't be doing that. Because I have other things that are more important that I need to do. Do any of you feel that way? You feel guilty if you're having too much fun. Okay, so I want you to really understand that that is the biggest problem with joy in this culture. We don't trust it. Because you've been told that hard work is what gets you where you want to go. Now remember what I told you at the beginning. I spent the first half of my life learning everything that can go wrong with the female body. I know the path of pain really well, and I know where it leads, to more pain. That's the only place it leads. The path to joy is joy. Now, it leads to something interesting with nitric oxide, by the way. It's an upward spiral. The better it feels, the better it feels, the better it feels, the better it feels, the better it feels. You know that there is no limit to the amount of pleasure your body can feel? However, did you grow up in one of those families with the butt boom? You're having too much fun, and as soon as things got too silly, somebody lowered the boom. Because we have this idea that you're going to pay later. Any of you grow up Irish Catholic? Okay, yeah. All right, then you know what I mean. Okay. Point number 5, joy begins with our habitual thoughts. Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, said, thoughts have the peculiar quality of becoming their physical equivalents. Thoughts have the peculiar quality of becoming their physical equivalents. Thoughts have a measurable effect on the hydrogen-oxygen bonds in water. And our bodies are 85% water. So what do you think creates our bodies? Our thoughts. And this is the work of Masaru Emoto, who wrote Messages in Water. How many of you know his work, Messages in Water? Go and take a look at this work. What he shows is water that's been around a song like Heartbreak Hotel has a pattern that's very chaotic and not fun. It's not a very joyous song, right? I did love Elvis, though. I still love Elvis. And then a more uplifting song, which has water crystal patterns that are absolutely gorgeous. And remember, if every thought has a certain pattern, and it's either beautiful or chaotic, then you can choose beautiful over and over and over again and get a beautiful pattern in your life that same way. Here's the bad news. We have 60,000 thoughts per day. This is information from Jonas Chong, who is the PhD psychologist, part of San Aviv Medical Institute in Rosarito, Mexico, where I like to go every January to drink green juice and recreate myself. The place is absolutely wonderful. It's tomorrow's medicine today. But here's what he points out. We have 60,000 thoughts per day. 87% of these are negative and repetitive. Have you had the same thoughts over and over and over again? It's frightening, isn't it? I mean, sometimes you think, if this were a sitcom, it would be canceled out of sheer boredom. Like, how boring can I possibly get here? A mind is a terrible thing to watch, right? And Anne Lamott, one of my favorite authors, said, my mind is a bad neighborhood and I shouldn't go there alone. Isn't it true? It's good, it's true, yeah. Now, there are two main motivations in life. It's doing things out of fear to avoid the consequences of not doing them, or doing things you really want to do. The only sustainable thing for your health is doing things you really want to do. But to do that, you're going to have to wander through that mangrove swamp of your repetitive negative thoughts. 99% of all negative thinking is a gross misrepresentation of reality. I am thrilled that you all came out here tonight because you did something that is most unusual. You defied Storm Center. I mean, it is unbelievable to me, Storm Center. They start in. Melissa told me that she got calls a week ago. Are you thinking of canceling? I said to her, I am not going to cancel if I have to take a dog sled up there. Plus, I know the people who get there will be the right people. And look, you all came. This is like a miracle in this day and age. I grew up south of Buffalo. Okay, this is where I get my struggle mentality. Because if you grow up, where they have 7 feet of snow in like 2 hours, you don't let snow do anything. You pray that they'll cancel school, and they never do, So, I'm not a weather wimp. And I have a particular feeling about people who listen to the news a week in advance and decide what they're going to do, because 2/3 of the time, 90% of the time here on the coast, they're wrong. Remember, 99% of negative thoughts are unreliable. Most of what you think is going to happen does not happen. So I offer you a new religion, undoism. Undoism is to undo your blocks to joy. Undo your blocks to joy. And that involves looking at your thinking and understanding that this is your mind. This is your mind, this is your mind, this is your mind. It's a bad neighborhood, there it goes. I better call Diane, my mind's going down the tubes. I can get myself into a swivet, and I sometimes use tarot cards to make decisions, but when I'm in a bad state, the tarot cards are invariably bad. I can't even rely on the tarot cards, really, I can't. So I have to call Diane. She'll say, you should call me. Next time you're going down the tubes like that, you call me. Okay, point number 6. Chemical imbalances don't really exist. Oh, yeah. Chemical imbalances don't really exist. Do you know that the science, and Candace Pert talks about this, she's the discoverer of endorphin and kephalin and how serotonin receptors and all that, and she said the research that has led to the widespread use of Prozac, Zoloft, all of these things, is so tenuous. I want to read you something from a colleague of mine, James Gordon, who has a new book coming out called Unstuck. He's a psychiatrist, extraordinarily well-trained, and has worked at the NIH and all over the world. And this is what Jim says. This book will challenge the prevailing medical model of depression and the widespread, even epidemic use of chemical antidepressants. This narrow model of diagnosis and treatment insists that those who feel helpless and hopeless, unhappy and uncertain, have a disease like insulin-dependent diabetes, which requires a pharmacologic treatment. I'll offer you evidence that strongly suggests that this model is poorly justified, largely inappropriate, limited and limiting, and often enough dangerous to your physical, emotional, and spiritual health. The antidepressants that it dictates should be used seldom, as a last resort, and briefly, not as a form of primary care. The biggest pharmacy you will ever find is the one between your ears, because every thought you think creates a cascade of biochemical changes in your body that are measurable. And every cell in your body communicates instantly with every other cell in your body. And every cell in one of your bodies, believe it or not, communicates instantly with every cell in my body. And I'm thinking that the energy shift that we do tonight is the best hope for the war in Iraq, peace on the planet, cleaning up all kinds of pollution. That's what we're doing tonight. See, you've been led to think of this, oh, this is just a little fluff piece. We're going to go see that nutty gynecologist telling us about orgasmic birth. See, this is what you do, with sequins and pink stuff that doesn't amount. This isn't real. This is the only thing that will change anything. Now, I've written enough prescriptions for enough stuff. I call those the bridge across the river. Most people don't want to get out of the boat. I'd like you to get out of the boat. I think it's time we all got on the other side. Okay. Oh, a word about negative pleasure. This is negative pleasure. If you don't have anything good to say, sit by me. Okay? Negative pleasure is the machine that runs the National Enquirer, In Touch magazine, People magazine, and here's how it works. If you can see some rich, thin, model type woman who makes a ton of money, having problems with drugs, alcohol, her husband, her marriage, whatever, then it makes your life seem so much better. Because even these people with so-called fabulous lives, fabulous bodies, the right breast size and so on, and a good rear end, even they have problems. So you must be not so bad. I would say to you that the more and more you get into producing your own joy every moment, the less appeal those publications will have to you. Have any of you found that? I found that. And, they just have less appeal to me. A friend gave me a subscription to the National Enquirer once. Yeah, you believe it? So I had a year of negative pleasure. Sometimes they have the right stuff. They were the first ones that published the actual medical documentation about acupuncture and how if you inject radioactive gadolinium in an actual acupuncture point, it showed the meridian, going right up the meridian versus a sham point. Very impressive. Years and years before anyone else. The problem is separating the wheat from the chaff, And, those strange serpents with the babies' heads or whatever it is. Okay. So that stuff is not very good for joy. However, we all have to look at our tendency to like a little negative pleasure. Because, it is fun once in a while, you got to admit. It's fun, Okay. Now, are you ready for the 10-point prescription for joy? This is what you're going to do. This is what's going to do it for you. Number 1, understand that joy is a deliberate choice. It's an inside job, and it begins with a decision. It's practical. Very practical to be joyous, because let me give you the not so practical approach. If you do not put joy into your agenda deliberately, because it creates these biochemical changes in your brain that are so beneficial, increasing serotonin, decreasing cortisol and stress hormones, making you sleep better, all that. If you don't do it deliberately, what do? You do it by default. You do it through sugar, drugs, and alcohol. Right? Yeah. You know who you are. I know who I am anyway. I used to know where every good chocolate brownie was in the whole state of Maine. Pretty much. Yeah. And now I don't need it nearly as much. A smaller amount will do most of the time. Not all the time, and then I know it's time to watch a funny movie or something of that nature. So, number 2, joy takes practice and discipline. Nothing is easier than negativity. You have the entire culture helping you with negativity, don't you? Turn on the television. Read the newspaper. If you don't have a good foundation and basis for joy in your life, you can get off track so easily. So depending on how much recovery you have on board or how much joy biochemistry you have on board, you might just not watch the news for a week or two. I don't think I've watched the news in years. And you know what people say? Well, I might miss something. See, that's what they want you to believe. I might miss something. I've never missed anything that I didn't need to know. Someone will tell you. Plus, we already know about the weather. It's wrong. So, here's how I do the weather. I go outside, I look up. That's how I do it. Pretty much. And anything you need to know, someone will tell you. You'll know. I have friends here from Florida. They said, up here, it's the storms in Florida. She calls it the funnel of negativity about the hurricanes. It's going to be on this coast. It's going to be on that coast. See, I thought that we were the only ones with the weather thing. The Buffalo, the Maine. They got the same thing in Florida. You can't get away. I think they have a contract with the major grocery stores. Yeah, because people hear, and then they all run. And then there's a run on the grocery store for milk. It's unbelievable. Okay. You have to make joy welcome. It's sort of like emotional feng shui. You got to give it a little space in your brain. And it takes some practice.